There we go. I think we are live. I have no idea which channel I am looking from. I'm guessing this is from Doug's channel, and you may have noticed that I am not Doug Out Football channel because I was trying to set up the stream for both of our channels. But anyway, yes, Doug is with me. Doug is with me, or I'm on Doug's channel and I'm with him, I suppose, whichever way. But yes, Doug, ignore the fact we've spoken off camera just for about a few minutes. And ignore that we've just asked each other how we're doing, but I'll ask again for the pleasantries of people watching. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you very much for asking me to obviously come here on your channel and obviously come on my channel as well. So it's a duo thing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this game on Wednesday because your lot are absolutely flying at the moment.
I know. Well, seem to be flying well over the clouds, or literally flying over cloud nine at the moment, which is strange. I bet, and I think you'll agree with this. If there's someone, I think someone would have been on crystal meth if they said to me at the start of December, Sunderland will be above Liverpool in the table. So I'm like, haha, good one. No way, no chance. But you know, such is life. Is what it is. Right. So sorry if I'm taking over your stream here, but let's have a look. So, God, now you might know these guys. I have no idea who most of these are, but
Yeah,
Shauno, I think. Sorry, mate, if I've got your name
yeah.
wrong. I probably have
Hello,
butchered that.
Shauno. Hope you're well, mate.
Thank you very much for watching, mate. We can go away from home and just go for it now. I'm guessing, I think Thomas is a Sunderland fan. I think I've seen him comment on my videos. Yep, this will be, yeah, I don't think Liverpool have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose on Wednesday night. Let's really get at them because they're not at their best right now. We just need to go for it. We could get something. Oh, I love this one. Paul Armstrong on my job. Running late, Michael All. Yep, fashionably late. I always am. I always am. I had a bit of a nightmare setting this thing up. So I ended it. So long story short, the reason I was late was because I was trying to set this stream up. So it's on console. You can go to both mine and Doug's channels in one go. And then and it made Doug laugh this. I was going, why is this not letting me do it? And then I realized, oh, it's on Carl's channel and I'm trying to do it there. Michael, you tit. So yeah, that's why it wouldn't work. So yes, I had to reset it all, but there we go. Yeah, there we go. How Thomas, how are the lads? Thanks very much, Thomas, for watching. This is my good mate Ryan, who isn't into football, but he likes me. He watches me content. So thank you very much, Ryan. But yeah, so let's start with your boys. Obviously, both our clubs won at the weekend. So obviously, we came back in an epic fashion to beat Bournemouth, and obviously, you won at West Ham. So feel free to tell me all about it because I was watching the Sky Sports multi-view thing when they're doing the Premier League. So I was
Yes,
watching a bit of
yeah.
your game, bit of the Villa game, bit of the Nottingham Forest Brighton game. But obviously, I imagine you were fully focused at the London Stadium. So tell me about West Ham 0 Liverpool 2.
Yeah, well, I think I think the main important thing I would say is the result's the most important one. Um, because I've got to say
Yes, Chris.
anything was about the result in that game. Um, because I looked at that game and thought difficult place to go, at London Stadium, but we did have a pretty good record there. But our form recently has just been horrendous. So I said any win, don't doesn't matter about the result, doesn't matter about the result or the performance, just get a win. And we did. And I think the thing to say is that I'm so happy for Alexander Isak getting his first goal. The biggest thing for me was to drop Mo Salah. I think Mo Salah's not been at his best this season. I think obviously I think it's 4 games in 10 days coming up or something like that. So I looked at that and then obviously what happened after that? Baqueta got a very stupid red card.
I couldn't believe that when I
Honestly,
watched it.
that's idiotic. Absolutely idiotic. I could not believe what he was doing. Like, he's already on a yellow card. Basically, gave Darren England basically a chance to. I would agree with this. Keep Gomez right back because I think we were really solid yesterday. I think the way the one thing I would say about the Paqueta red card, it's just idiotic. It's stupid. The statement he came out with afterwards was absolutely laughable. Let me just say that.
Is this the
But
Twitter statement he came out with?
yes,
Something about yeah, oh yeah, I have seen it. It's yeah. I did feel a little bit for him, but I also thought that's not relevant to you being a total moron and costing your team. So yeah, I didn't get it.
yeah, it was really really strange. But Darren England basically fair play to Darren England because he gave him a chance. He gave him a chance. Basically, Allison had to come in and actually protect him. Jared Bowen and Allison actually protected Paqueta. Um, But he kept going on and 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 on, and then all of a sudden he gets sent off. And it's just like I was just shouting at the TV, "You utter plank!"
Did you think he had
Well,
the audacity to sarcastically clap the decision to give him a second yellow card? I'm like, well, mate, it's your
uh
own stupid fault. You don't keep your gob shut, you're going to get a second yellow card. So, and I criticise referees a lot, but I think in this instance he had no choice but to give him a second yellow here. Paqueta's just an absolute idiot in that moment.
And then the other thing after that, he basically goes to the fourth official and keeps complaining. And then I think it's one of the West Ham staff, Nuno, has to come around and basically say, just get off, go down the tunnel." And then we make it 2-0. Gakpo, great finish into the bottom corner. And that was the massive relief that we needed as well. I will say, Florian Wirtz had his best game in the Liverpool shirt yesterday. Man of the match for me. Absolutely fantastic. But huge win. But I will say this now, Wednesday is going to be a very tough game because you guys have been waxing lyrical about you all season. Um, I think it's going to be a very tough game on Wednesday because I think you've had your best start to the season, if my memory serves me correctly, since 99-00 season or 0-0-1 season
It's
or
one of the
something like
two
that.
seventh place Peter Reid finishes, I think, that's since the best start
Yeah,
we've had. Now, don't get me wrong, just disclaimer straight away, I am not saying whatsoever that Sunderland will finish top seven, as much as I would absolutely love it, and I would be a kid in a sweet shop next summer if that happened, to watch us, the possibility of us playing in Europe. But yes, it is. Look, I think it's amazing actually, because I suppose we'll get on to us. Because first and foremost, because what I did see of your game very quickly, it was good for Isak to get his first goals. Very good finish, actually. Very good striker's finish. And
yeah,
I feel like he's someone who, obviously, the spotlight, and him and Wirtz, actually, to be fair, both of them cost, like, what was it, what about British record transfer fees, certainly for Liverpool, I think, to spend that sort of money on them. So maybe it's just took a bit of time for them to sort of get accustomed to it. But something I did want to ask you, actually, and before we get onto the Sunderland side of things, one of my mates who's a Sunderland fan, and we often like chat about football, and we came up with a theory that might maybe somewhat explain why Liverpool maybe have started poorly. But as a Liverpool fan, you're better placed to tell this than me. Has the unfortunate passing of Diego Jota in the summer maybe left a hangover on the club more than what we initially thought it would? Because it mustn't be easy for it mustn't be, obviously it's not an excuse to not perform, but it can't be easy when a lot of them have just, when particularly Andy Robertson, if you look what he was like after Scotland qualified for the World Cup, I think it was, and he was emotional talking about Diego Jota. That can't
yeah.
have been easy for Liverpool as a club to have dealt with, let alone the players or the manager.
Well, this top I've got on will always be indebted to Diogo Jota because I've got Jota on the back of this top.
That's quite poignant. That
It has it has to an effect. Look, I think not many people were saying this when we were like winning the first five. I think that's one thing I would say. But Salah, Van Dijk, probably Robertson are probably the three I think that have been really most affected by Jota's passing. Um, it will have an effect on them. And I think when you saw that Andy Robertson interview after Scotland qualified for the World Cup, he literally said he was hiding it. Now that says to me that these players are still being affected by what's happened, but our form has been nothing short but a disgrace recently. I think it's 9 defeats out of 13 games recently, and the one thing as well, we've got 7 wins, 6 defeats. Now,
yeah,
if
you've
you had
not
said
drawn a
that
game yet, have you?
we haven't drawn a game, so it's very strange to say that, but it will definitely have an effect. It will definitely have an effect on the players, and I think as well. Look, I know we sing the Jota song every 20 minutes. I think it's every home game and every away game, but it's uh, it's really sad with obviously Jota's passing as well, but it has certainly had an effect on some players, I would say. But we have no excuses for our form because I think the thing is. I said this at the start of the season. They will want to do it so much for Jota. You know, especially with the fact that because let's be honest, I would have said at the start of the season I think Jota was probably on the way out if we're being totally honest with ourselves. But obviously, with what's happened now, obviously the loss of life is really really tragic. So
Yeah.
Ekateki is definitely that Jota replacement. So um, our signings, look, I thought at the start of the season they were very very astute signings. I thought they were really good
I agree.
signings. Um, Obviously, Isak has not really had a pre-season with Newcastle. I didn't like the way he sort of handled himself. I think that's the safest thing I would say. Um, obviously had Kirkes, we've had Frimpong, we've obviously had the other goalkeeper as well, Mamadashvili, coming in as well. So it does take time to gel. We needed to make changes. I've been saying this for a number of weeks recently that the last time we won the league in 2019-2020, we didn't really strengthen. Now we won the league last season. We basically decided, yeah, we need to have a big transfer window and just strengthen from allow players of such pastures like Darwin Núñez, like Luis Diaz to leave the club. But I didn't quite think. People are saying Liverpool are in transition. I'm not so sure that's the case, but it is a relatively new side, if we're being honest. But to to basically not be winning games is really really disappointing. There's been calls for the manager to go. That PSV game was absolutely embarrassing to say the very very least. So let's be honest, we have to be very very careful when we do speak about sort of Jota, but it is certainly having an effect on some players for sure.
Well, I was just funny enough, I just mentioned in Shauno's comment here, it says, think we have to be careful when talking about Jota. Certainly when it comes to the football end of it and our slumping performance, nothing that's come out of the club suggests or uses Jota. Use Jota's death as a reason for the slump in performance. Yeah, I think Liverpool, of
Yeah,
course, as a club officially won't use that because it just won't come across very well. I just mean that behind the scenes, I think maybe it made more, certainly with some individuals, like you mentioned, Salah's not been at his particular best
yeah,
this season, and I do suspect maybe a part of it might have been down to that. Now, obviously, is that an excuse? As tragic as Jota's event, what happened with Jota is, and I'm sure that everyone in the footballing world who's got a heart will be deeply saddened by that.
yeah,
Um, and especially for his wife and his family, I mean, and it was not long after he was married, I believe, when it all happened, unfortunately. But I think,
yeah.
but at the same time, you are right. I think when you won the first 5 games, I think obviously it was barely getting mentioned. But I wanted to ask you this, and because obviously I've only watched Liverpool probably 3 or 4 times this season. I've watched a fair few of the games. I think I watched you when you played Bournemouth on the opening day. And then I think away at Newcastle. And I'm not going to pretend I didn't enjoy the last minute winner at St James's. But other than that, though, I think when I've watched Liverpool, and I want to know what you think it's down to, your performances this season haven't convinced me for what a title winning team should be. Because being honest, you guys obviously the window you had, I thought you would have a really good shout of retaining the league because I think if you're
Yeah.
looking at just the signings you've made, Kirkes from Bournemouth, Isak from Newcastle in the end, and then Wirtz from Leverkusen, all struck me as signings that made me think, hang on, they're going for it again here. And I know that obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but with obviously next season squad cost ratio is going to replace PSR. But for the last few years, you've kind of had to watch what you spent because of PSR. But last summer, you
Yeah.
had the ability to really go for it. So what is it that makes you? What is it that comes down to the performances and has contributed to the defeats? Has it been one thing in particular, or has it been a multitude of things that have just come together at the same time?
It's probably a multitude of most things, really. Defensively, we've been absolutely shocking. Um, I was looking at the sort of the goals sort of ratio, and we have conceded, I think, 22 goals this season in all comps. Like that's way way too much. That is way way too much. Um, and it's also sort of the manner of the defeats. It's the goals we're conceding as well. Like we definitely need to look at the way that we've been playing recently. But Man City 3-0, that really really disappointing away performance. Nottingham Forest at home and really poor game. But look, I will say this now. The only games I've looked at this season where I think we've played well in, Real Madrid at home, because that was one where we were like, Madrid never really laid a glove on us that night. Never laid a glove on us. Like Connor Bradley had Vinicius Junior in his back pocket, like he did with Mbappe the previous season there as well. Aston Villa at home again. Villa on a really really good run. People were expecting Villa to go to Anfield and probably win that. Didn't happen. Um, Eintracht Frankfurt away in the Champions League. Yes, we were 1-0 down, but we came back and won 5-1. So those are sort of the only games I look at and think probably deserve those wins because Bournemouth 2-0 up, cruising, got back to 2-2. Then it was obviously 3-2, 4-2. Newcastle again 2-0 up, 2-2, 3-2 win. Arsenal 83rd minute wonder strike from Soboslai. Burnley away 1-0 90th minute. We haven't played well in any really big game this season. So um, is it the system? Is it the way we play football? Look, it's definitely weird to say the very very thing, but we haven't played well in many games this season. So, and the first 5 games, I think there was definitely signs that it was definitely papering over cracks because defensively we were really really poor. Um, and as well, the right back situation has been really really disappointing because we've had Connor Bradley out, we've had Jeremy Frimpong out, we've had to play Dominic Soboslai there, you've had to play Curtis Jones there. Now, obviously, you brought Joe Gomez in. We looked more solid yesterday with Joe Gomez. But the one thing that really really annoys me, and I know that obviously Sean and Chris are big Liverpool supporters. But the one thing that's really annoying me is he doesn't trust his squad. I don't think, and I don't think he knows his best 11. I think when you look at the
Funny you
game
say that. There you
yesterday,
go. The comment couldn't have been perfectly timed.
yeah. So Salah's going to Afcon. Now you've got a chance to basically, do different things. Bring Chiesa in, bring in Curtis Jones, bring in Rio and Gamoa, and just see what happens. Because as we said, 4 games in the next 10 days. It's really really a big schedule coming up now. Um, I mean, I've looked at your fixtures and I can't believe the next 3. I mean, you go to Liverpool, you go to Manchester City away, and then you've got the derby against Newcastle. So it's a really tough wee period. But no, the one thing I will say basically is you attack us, you will get fun. You will get a good time on Wednesday because I still think we're quite vulnerable. And Kanate basically decided yesterday that he would play better because obviously his move to Real Madrid now is not going to happen. So he's been dreadful all season. Let's be honest. So no, definitely performances haven't been there. Our best player, in my honest opinion, this season, Dominic Soboslai, and that's enough said.
I love it. Well, you mentioned about the if we go for you, then we will get chances. I think that the way I look at it from a Sunderland point of view, I think we will set up in this game with a back 5. I think we will because you probably I don't know if you watched any of our games against Chelsea or Arsenal or whatever else it is. You might have watched the Arsenal one because that was on Sky Sports, I think. But
Yeah,
in both games, we set up with a 5 at the back system, and basically we aim to control the game without having the ball. And in the sense that if you're going to have the opposition, we will sit off teams, let them have on the edge of the centre circle, on the D or whatever it is, let them have the ball. But our plan will be to aggressively press you if you get into our final third. So that's what I suspect Reggie Lebris will do on Wednesday night. And and I don't how much joy. I mean, but it also doesn't. But it often doesn't. I think a lot of people confuse 5 at the back as a negative system, and to me, it's not a negative system if you utilize it in the right way. So
yeah,
I think personally, for me, 5 at the back will become 3 at the back when you have possession, when you're relying on your fullbacks to be wing backs, and will be able to try and bomb on and push forward a bit more. But obviously, look, I'm not going to not talk about Sunderland here, not be very giddy when mentioning us. Now, I remember your predictions at the start of the season. I think you and me both had Sunderland in the same place. I remember watching it. I think we both had the same bottom three, actually. I think we both went for Brentford, Leeds, and Burnley to go down. And you went for Sunderland to finish 17th, if my memory serves correct. I know I definitely
Yes.
went for us to finish 17th. So the only one I think at the minute, we're both correct on Leeds and Burnley, but long way to go. I think it's safe to say we're both quite a bit wrong on Brentford, and we both think. I know we both thinking 17th looks harsh on Sunderland right now,
Yeah.
which is mental. I guess from your point of view, because you've been a big advocate of Sunderland, and Carl has to be fair to him, bless him. What have you made of Sunderland start the season just as a neutral? Because we must have surprised you, because we're definitely surprised by the start we've had.
I mean, you've been excellent. Um, First game of the season, West Ham, 3-0 home victory. Big up, Rich. Hope you're well, Rich. I hope you're well. You've been fantastic this season. Yes, definitely. Not this season, Rich. Unfortunately, not this season. How to describe some of it? They've been fantastic. A breath of fresh air coming back into the Premier League. I think it's our best start since like 99-00 or
Something like that,
001.
yeah.
I don't
Well over
mention that.
2.5 decades at this point.
Yeah.
Obviously, the
Um,
caveat is half of them we've been out in the Premier League, and for about a third of them we've been stuck in League One. But less said about that, the better.
but no, I think the games I've definitely watched, I've been really impressed with you. I remember I think the first game I seen of you actually was the Villa home game,
Is that the one when
where
Ronaldo got sent off? We got a point with 10 men,
yes,
didn't we? Yeah.
yeah, that was 10 men. That was the one you got 10 men from. Barring that, probably Man United away, I think you've been really, really good. I saw you against Arsenal, and you know the one thing I will say about this Sunderland side is that it's a real togetherness in this team, real togetherness. Granit Xhaka for 17 million. I've said it time and time again this season. For me, that is the signing of the season. To get a player
Literally got to
who has
pinch myself,
played,
yeah, to remind me that he's playing for us. It's
yeah,
mental.
he has been phenomenal. He's been absolutely phenomenal in that midfield. I really like your goalkeeper Roofs. I think he has just been a really good shot stopper, a really good goalkeeper. Um, and I think as well some of the players that you've brought in this season, Mukiele, I remember him in like sort of the Bundesliga for like RB Leipzig. You managed to get him as well. So no, I think I I would be very happy with your start. I mean, 22 points from 13 games so far is absolutely fantastic. Um, I, I I do have a soft spot for Sunderland. Now, my uncle is a big Sunderland fan, so whenever you guys have been winning, we've had a sort of a running like little joke because I keep messaging him. It's like basically you won your first game, 37 points to go, 34 points to go. So anytime you've been
You've
basically
been
winning,
copying me, basically. I've
I
been saying
I've
exactly
been
the same
basic
thing.
yeah. So basically that's what I've been doing is basically messaging my uncle, born and bred in Sunderland. I've been messaging him basically. This is the amount of points to go. This is the amount of points to go. In your honest opinion, is that still the target? Is 40 points still the target? Because if I'm being honest, and if I'm looking at the league table at the moment, I don't think 40 points is going to be the maximum to survive. I honestly think it could be about 34, 37.
I think it'll. Yes, for me, 40 points is still the absolute target. I'm not. I think I've had a few people who've been messaging me going about how, oh look, come on, you've got to look higher than what 40 points. 40 points. I'm like, nope, not budging on that. Still, still 40 points to go. Exactly as Paul Armstrong says, only 18 points to go. But what I would say is, the longer the season goes on, and the more points we get. Look, this December is going to be very tough. Like we've got
Yeah,
Liverpool, Man City away. Then you've got Newcastle at home. Look, take out the fact I despise them. It is a hard game. They are a very good side. Brighton away. I think a lot of people, our fans will really be shocked how hard a game that's going to be. Actually,
yeah,
and then obviously Leeds at home. I think if I'm looking at it just for the perspective of trying to survive, then, and yes, I know we're 11 points clear of Leeds at the minute, but that's still like, that can change. Football changes so quickly. Leeds at home for me is arguably the biggest game this month, if you take out the fact we have a derby, if you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
having said that, yes, 40 points for me is still the maximum target. Sorry, not maximum, minimum target, I should say, because I do think we will reach it eventually. But I've always said that if we do get the 40 points, and particularly if we got the 40 points by, say, February, like say when we play each other at the Stadium of Light, for example, which I think is
Yeah.
mid-February, I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest we could get to 40 points by that particular point, or by the end of February. If we get to it then I'll reassess and go, right, okay, then let's see what we can do. Because ultimately, I would love Sunderland to be challenging for Europa League, Europa Conference League. And if we
Yeah.
get to that point late in the season where, okay, we're on 45 points, we're probably not going to go down, then we'll start looking. I mean, I've had a few people say to me, Michael, you've got to start looking higher. But for me, I think get to that first and then reassess. But there's no doubt in my mind that it has been an absolutely fantastic start beyond anything that I could have expected, because I
Yeah.
did think we would survive and I thought we'd finish the highest of the promoted clubs, but I never once thought it would be like comfortably ahead of the current bottom three. And I don't. And there's a channel called the Second Tier Podcast, and there's a guy called Ryan Jukes who does it. And something he said after we got promoted kind of stuck with me ever since. And he said that if you're a promoted club going up to the Prem, you basically have to finish the highest of the three promoted clubs and hope one of the top 17 decides to have a stinker. Now,
Yeah.
thanks Wolverhampton Wanderers, because you seem to be the club determined to do that. And that's another thing. 20 points ahead of Wolves, which is absolutely
Yeah.
massive for us. So I think personally, yes, 40 points at the minute is what I am still looking at. But the more points we get now, then the less pressure, then the points tally you need goes down, less and less and less and less and less. And then it gets to the point where eventually you're hopefully on 40 points, and then the rest of the season's kind of not a free hit, but one where you go, all right, let's just enjoy it and see where the season takes us from there. So yes, 40 points at the moment. How many we get this week? In my head, I'm expecting 2 defeats, but because we beat Bournemouth, I think it's like, well, if we lose the next 2, so be it. Like, we'll lose the next 2 because
Yeah.
despite your form, I would, if you offered me a point on Wednesday night, I would be delighted with that on Wednesday night. Now, knowing my luck, I'll say that, and we'll be 2-0 up, and you'll come back to draw 2-2, and I'll be annoyed. But last season it happened a few times where I said, "Oh, I'll take a point there." All right, then, but you have to concede a late equaliser. I was like, "Well, no, I don't want to be pissed off with it. I want to actually be
Yeah.
content with it." But yeah, look, there's no doubt in my mind that the game is one that you'll view that you need to win, which is fair enough. Obviously, at the Stadium of Light, I'd like to think it would have been a different story, because I think the Stadium of Light is proven to be so far a difficult place for teams to come to. But we will lose games at some point, just hopefully not the next one against the Mags. But they'll deal with that when we come to it. But
Yeah.
yes, I think if we can get 40 points by, say, February, then, and a lot of it as well. And I think there was another comment that said, let me see if I can quickly find it. Where is it? Oh, yeah, here we go. So Tom Harty, big up you, mate. How high we finish could depend on January. That's another thing. And obviously,
Yeah, is AFCON a bit of a concern for you guys? Because I was kind of reading that I think you got 6 players or 7 players going to
yeah. So
AFCON.
we've got Reinildo, Masuaku, Sadiki Diarra, Adingra, Talbi, and Traore. They're all going to AFCON.
Right.
The concern from my point, I would like to hope that because I think it's meant to be next week that they're meant to go. Now, I would like them to at least the nations have the decency to wait another week, considering we've got
Yeah.
Newcastle right after that. We obviously really want
Yeah.
them. Masuaku can go. He doesn't play anyway, so it's, those who don't play
Yeah.
anyway can go. But like, I'm talking players like Reinildo, Sadiki, Diarra. Obviously, Diarra's been out injured since September. So I think with that in mind, yes, I think if we could keep them for the Newcastle game, then afterwards, right, fine, go afterwards, then what happens against Newcastle happens. So yes, it is a concern. I do think it's a little overblown with how many games it's going to be. I think at most it's going to be 6-7 games. And I think a lot of people, and this isn't not saying you actually, because you've not said this, but I think even some of our fans that are naturally a bit pessimistic worry about it, and I'll go, well, guys, remember, see, this AFCON doesn't end the season, There is like 15 games after AFCON when
Yeah.
players come back. But yeah, it is. I'm not going to lie and say that it's not going to be having an effect somewhat. You can't lose that many players and it not affect you to a degree. But that's the route we went down when we signed a lot of these players. I think the reason
Yeah.
we did what we did is we believe a lot of these players would get us the points in the games that they're here for. So
Yeah.
far, it's proven to be the case with 22 points after 13 games.
It's certainly a bit like a weird timing actually now with AFCON because like after like this tournament in December, I think the next one's in like the summer, so it's really sort of strange timing. But one question I did want to ask you, because one thing that's really struck me is the amount of signings you made. Now, your chairman owner, Carol Louis Dreyfus, have I pronounced that right,
Yes,
or
you
have
have.
I?
Yes, you
Yeah,
have. Don't worry, I
is
am
he?
terrible at pronouncing names, so you've put me to shame there. Yes, you got it right.
Well, I've got a friend who lives in Paris, so he obviously knows about sort of the Dreyfus family. Is he involved in those transfers, or is he just has a say in them?
It's a good question. Right, for those who don't know, we appointed Roma's sporting director Florent Gasolfi in the summer, and he was someone who obviously hadn't had a good of time things at Roma, and I think so. Obviously, that's probably part of the reason why we've been able to get him. And I think so. I think KLD was heavily involved in the Xhaka transfer. Apparently, he was
Yeah,
one that like flew out and gave him like the private jet first class treatment, pretty much to try and get him to come here. Which obviously thankfully worked because, as you say, he's been immense this season. I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that everyone, not just on the pitch, but at board level, seem aligned for the first time. And that's the first time I've said that about Sunderland in goodness knows how many years. Any Sunderland fans watching will be able to tell you
yeah,
that we have not been aligned at board level for years and years and years at this point. So, obviously the work that, say, Christian Speakman, who was obviously here since the League One days, who I think some of our fans don't appreciate how good a job he's actually done, along with Stuart Harvey, the head scout, who left a couple of months ago.
yeah,
But with Speakman and Gazolfi and then KLD at the helm owning everything, it just seems very much aligned. So to answer your question, I don't think KLD directly involves himself in the transfers as much unless there's a real case for it. But there seems to be a trust there to actually get things right on off the pitch, as in terms of signings for on the pitch. Because you're right, look, we made, what is it, something like 13, 14 signings, I think it is, in the summer.
yeah,
And as you know yourself, if you make that many signings in one go, it's very rare that it clicks like that straight away. Like,
yeah, yeah.
that was kind of the thing. And that's another thing that kind of makes me cautiously optimistic for the second half of the season, because by the time you get to later on in the season, a lot of these players are going to know each other now. A lot of these players have played together for a number of months. Like the way we play right now is, it looks like we've known each other for years, and it's freaky when you think about it. And another thing we do is that we scout the right personalities to play at a club the size of Sunderland, as opposed to just as long as they're obviously good players. So but even if you're looking at what I think we did really well is that we targeted the foreign market. And I said from the moment we got promoted against Sheffield United at Wembley, the moment we did that, I said to the lads, even that very night, I said, I think what we'll do is we will target the foreign market because, as you know, the
Hmm.
Premier League market has become stupidly inflated. Like, for example, we spent £20 million on Simon Adingra and he's barely playing at the minute.
Yeah.
Partly because Labrise, I don't think, trusts him to do the defensive side of the way we play. But the point is, and I like Adingra, I think he's actually a pretty good player, but Adingra, £20
Reminds
million.
me a lot of Manny actually on him,
Sorry?
Adingra. He reminds me a lot of Manny when he sort of first sort of burst onto the scene with Southampton. Manny had those kind of things that Adingra's got right now. So Adingra's kind of reminding me of almost a sort of a Sadio Mane kind of type player.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's weird that you say that because I can see the comparisons in there, what you mean. But I think
Mm,
it's weird because we spend 20 million on him. Now, in Premier League terms, that's
yeah.
pocket change. That's ridiculous. Like £20 million these days gets you probably a high-end championship player. That's just how.
Yeah.
So the point is, apart from Habib Diarra, which was our record signing at 30 million quid. Thankfully, it's not Didier Bloody and Dong anymore. But anyway, no, 30 million quid. But yeah, there's a blast from the past. Hello, Geordie0827. I hope you're doing all right. I hope you're not doing all right on December the 14th, but I think you'll take that in good jest.
Hello,
Um,
Geordie. Hope you're
yeah,
well.
big up Michael and Doe. Thanks very much for watching, mate. But what I was going to say is, yeah, I think what we had to do is we had to target the foreign market because of how inflatedly and stupidly inflated the Prem is. I think apart from, I think Adingra is the only one we signed from a Premier League club, and Adingra was in the last year of his contract at Brighton. So if it hadn't been for
Yeah,
that, we probably would have had to have paid more. So apart from Diarra, though, most of our signings have been around the £20 million mark. But you look at the signings you mentioned before. Mukiele is one of them. I think we got him for 10 million quid. We got Alderete for £10 million. Who else we signed? Reynildo obviously was free. Obviously would have been wages, but was free. Robin Roofs, I think, has been a very underrated signing. I think
top goalkeeper.
it's been absolutely immense. And if he's here in 2 years' time, I'll be astonished. But he was like 10 million quid. You know, we were linked with, I think, Marcin Bulka, who obviously went to Neom in Saudi Arabia, and then we were linked loosely with Petrovic, who went to Bournemouth who played against us at the weekend, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But Roofs has been a revelation, and I'm someone who quite likes Anthony Patterson, for example. I think some Sunderland fans make him out to be worse than what I think he actually is. But for me, he is a top 6 or top end Championship goalkeeper. And unfortunately, if you're going to go up the Premier League, you have got to be ruthless if you're serious about being re-established in this division. So while I like Patterson, I have no problem with him being a number 2. I wouldn't be surprised if he went out on loan in January to a Championship club, to be honest. But Roofs has been fantastic so far. Obviously, Brian Brobby, of course. Well, obviously, I don't know if you know the story about Mark Gayhew, that we got him on loan from Chelsea, and then Chelsea recalled him. So the recall fee we got for Gayhew paid for the first instalment of Brian Brobby, pretty much. So that's like amazing 5D chess from Sunderland there, which is incredible. But Brian Brobby's obviously got 2 goals in two of his last 3 games at the stadium. Last 2 games at the Stadium of Light, he's obviously got the equaliser against Arsenal, the winner against Bournemouth, and he set up the winner away at Chelsea as well. So I'm impressed with how Sunderland have targeted the foreign market and have spotted, and we've done this for a while, we spot top talent where a lot of clubs will probably miss it. And so I think that's been ultimately impressive. And remember, even though we have spent quite a lot in the summer, compared to the likes of, say, your West Hams or your Evertons, just 2 examples. Everton spent, 45 million on Tyler Dibbling, and West Ham spent the same amount on Matias Fernandez. No problem, here's 45 million. We couldn't do that. You know, we've come up after the... Now, we had a lot of wiggle room with PSR, but we haven't been able to go out and spunk money the way that a lot of the established clubs can. Now, if we stay up this season, then next season it might be totally different. But and for what it's worth, guys, just so I'm not being negative, yes, I do think we will stay up. But I'm trying not to count me chickens yet. So, but yeah, I think ultimately the recruitment in the summer is as good. The one area we probably would like to have seen a bit better is the wingers. Not to say that our wingers have been bad necessarily, because I think Traore's improved in the last couple of games. I like Talby. I think there was a really good player in there. But if you're wanting top draw wingers, say Antoine Semenyo, for example, I know we're not going to get him, but say Antoine Semenyo, that's a 65 million release clause. But if it weren't for that, it would probably cost around 80 million quid. So that's just what the real quality costs these days in the division. Like, say a prime Mo Salah, for example, who's like 25 or something and sold now, you're probably looking at 120 million plus at least, maybe even close to 150, depending on what happens. So that's the point I'm getting at. So for what we've been able to spend, I think we couldn't have done it much better.
Yeah. You know, no, I think you've done amazingly. I think, look, this next sort of wee period that you guys have got, you know, obviously us away, City away, and then obviously the big game, Newcastle.
See, it's so big, Doug's gone sideways. I love it. Okay, Doug's gone off. We'll get Doug back on in a second. I'll quickly get through some more comments while we get reconnect with Doug. Let's see. As a non-Liverpool fan, I only enjoyed watching Klopp's Liverpool. Yeah, Klopp's Liverpool was pretty good, to be fair, weren't they? Tom, we need Siddiqui and Xhaka to get cards against Liverpool as well. Yeah, that's another thing we need to bear in mind. Can't risk them against Man City with 4 cards each. Obviously, don't want them players to get cards, but we need them both for the Mags game. I completely and utterly agree with you on that, mate. Nick says, and 2006-2009 Liverpool. Let's have a look. Wednesday getting handed a 6 points. Oh, here we go. Just quickly read this comment. Wednesday getting handed a 6 points deduction while City getting carried away with their breaches. Etienne, hello, how are you doing there? Says, we saw Watson at Brighton, he doesn't play. Brighton sold us to England, he doesn't play. Maybe each club could take them back. I like the thinking there. Okay, there we go. On the watch-alongs. Finn streams, this will be a nice midweek victory for Liverpool. Much needed back-to-back wins, set us on a good one. We'll be 4 points off second. Table could be flipped on and it's held with 3 games in 7 days. Well, we'll see, mate. We'll see what happens. I do think Liverpool will beat us, to be fair, though. I think we've caught up on the comments. Right, let's add Doug back in here. So let's switch it back over. But yeah,
sorry about that. My wife decided to basically phone me during this, so that's why I went. That's why I went a bit sideways. But okay. No, everything's fine. But no, as I was saying just before I went off air, just briefly. You've been really, really good this season. I think as well, this sort of next three games, your Liverpool, City, and obviously the derby with Newcastle. Obviously, the Newcastle game, you would be targeting to win that. I would say. Look, I know how bad Newcastle are being away from home. I know they've got a really big win at Everton, which was quite surprising to say the very, very least. But
I'm not
um,
letting that deceive me, by the way. That is going to be a hard game, Newcastle, regardless. Derby
oh
games are totally
yeah, it
different than
will.
away
It,
games
it will
and
be
home games.
because they've got a very, very good team, but they've just not been at the races sort of yet for this season. To be honest with you, but no, the one thing I would say about you guys, you're competitive away from home. Manchester United away aside, I would say maybe Fulham away and probably Burnley. Those are maybe the only three that I could probably look at and think, okay, maybe you weren't so competitive. But in all the other games, you've been really, really competitive, and I think there is a chance for you guys to get something tomorrow because of on Wednesday, sorry, because of like how unpredictable we've been and like how sort of well you guys are playing. How are you feeling going into this one? Because obviously we went in against West Ham away yesterday. I'm kind of being a little bit sort of edgy because I know how well you guys have played, but then I'm like, stats can go out the window because I remember you had a 2-2 with us. I think Jermaine Defoe scored that day,
David
but
Moyes' relegation season, wasn't it?
that's right. It was. So yeah, how are you feeling going into this one?
For me, it's I think both games. I'll put it this way: to combine this game with Man City, I view both games as free hits. Now, I view Man City as the freer hit, if that makes sense, because of how Liverpool have been. But I'm not naive to the fact that Liverpool are still still Liverpool's like look your squad going forward, for example, should be in amongst the top four at the very least for me. Now, obviously, you have your concerns defensively. I think if we went with a four at the back, for example, I think you would. I don't know if you probably prefer we did that because it leaves us more open and you can attack us better. Now, that doesn't mean you can't break us down if we sit in a low to mid block or anything like that. But I would say for this game, I would say that if I'm looking at this game, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing how we mesh up against because you are the current champions of the Premier Leagues, obviously. So and you just haven't played to the level that you would expect to. So I think for this game, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a point, but I'm expecting a defeat. I do think you'll beat us, but I don't. But I wouldn't be totally shocked if we came away and got a draw, for example. Now, if you gave us
Hmm.
even a win or even a draw or a defeat this week, it's fine. The other thing we have to bear in mind is that Xhaka and Siddiqui are on 4 yellow cards, and we do not want them
Oh
missing the
right, I
Newcastle game.
didn't I didn't realize
For
that.
so I think some of our fans are going, we wouldn't mind if they both got booked in on Wednesday night against Liverpool, so they missed Man City in a back of the mags. Because if neither of them get booked on Wednesday, then I'm going to be bricking it on Saturday if they both play. Because I'm going to be going, no, yeah, Newcastle's the one game we have to have both of them play. Because I think if both of them play, particularly if Siddiqui does, I mean, if Siddiqui's going to AFCON early anyway, then it doesn't really matter. But like Xhaka in particular, if both of them are going to play against Newcastle, then we have half a chance of getting a good result against them. I think, or a chance, sorry, at home of getting a good result against them. I personally think for this game, if we get a point, I'd be very happy with it because it's another point. Because as you texted me not long after the Bournemouth game on Saturday, going 18 points to go. So I'll probably message you after Wednesday 10 o'clock if we do get something going 17 points to go left. But yeah, but I can imagine. But to flip the question back on its head, how are you feeling for you this week? Because you've got two of the promoted sides coming up this week, haven't you? Now you've got us at Anfield, then it's Leeds at Ellen Road on Saturday night. Is that correct?
Yes, that is right. And then it's Brighton um, the next week, I think, at Anfield. But I think
Yeah.
in between that, we're
You've
away
got
to
Inter
Inter
Milan in the
Milan.
Champions League in between, haven't you?
Yeah, so yes, it's tough. But um, look, Leeds away is going to be very, very interesting. I would say, but get through this one. I would say, try and win on Wednesday. I'm feeling slightly sort of cautious going into this one because you know I do expect there will be probably changes again tomorrow on Wednesday because of obviously the 4 games in 10 days. Um, but if we keep sort of the same back four than it was yesterday, I think it was Gomez, Konate, Van Dijk, and Kirkes. Although Robertson potentially could come in, so you've got that. You've always got Allison in goal. It'll probably still be the three midfielders of Soboslai, Gravenberch, and probably Maka. And then it's a case: do you bring Mo Salah back? Because if I'm being honest, we actually played pretty well without him yesterday. We had Wirtz on the right hand side, we had Gakpo on the left, and then obviously we had Isak up front as well. So it's going to be a very, very interesting game on Wednesday. Because of like how well you guys have been playing as well. Um, I've been a big fan of Dan Ballard. I think he has been brilliant this season.
Colossal.
And that goal against Arsenal just capped it off. I thought he was really, really good in that game.
Funny you talk
But
about Ballard. He hasn't. That's not even his best moment in 2025. The best moment for us is probably the Coventry one.
yes,
Lafay comes in
yeah,
last kick of the game in extra time against Coventry, and then Ballard's like an iconic moment now.
yeah,
But yeah, he's.
yeah,
I think someone made a joke that since that moment, Ballard has been on a mission to single-handedly become the best centre back in the world, whatever it is. And I just can't believe the rise that he's done. And people forget, like before the Coventry playoff games at the end of last season in the Championship, he wasn't even our main first choice centre back. It was Chris Mefflin and
yeah.
Nico Nine, and obviously Labrie made a big call to throw to get Ballard straight in there. So, but since then, he's just took to the Premier League like a duck to water, I think is the phrase. Like he's just been absolutely immense. Can't credit the guy any higher.
No, he has been really, really good. But no, like on Wednesday, it's going to be a really, really interesting game. How do you think you'll line up on Wednesday? Can you see changes? Because of obviously like the potential threat, obviously Xhaka potentially missing Manchester City or missing Newcastle. Missing Newcastle, I think, is probably bigger than the Man City and Liverpool
Well,
games,
yeah,
if
I
I'm
think we
being
would all
honest.
prefer he missed Man City much more than Newcastle. But as far as the lineup goes, I mean, I'm looking at your team here. So you had Allison, Gomez, Kanate, Van Dijk, Kirkes, Gravenberch, McAllister, Soberslai. I think I've got that right.
Yeah,
Words, Words, Gakpo, Isak. So yeah, I mean, on paper, that's a. I mean, I know Kanate's been poor this season, but that's still a very good, like, sort of side, really. But if you're looking at Sunderland, I mean, obviously, we went to 4 at the back against Bournemouth at the weekend, and obviously, and that's no mean feat because Bournemouth are a very, very good team. Like I watched them against you on the opening day of the season, and then they were very good. They were very, very good. So, I mean, the lineup we had was Roofs, Mukiele, Ballard, Alderete, Reynildo, Jaka, Siddiqui, Traore, Lafay, Talby, Isidore. Now, I suspect the lineup. If I had to say who I think will line up, I think we'll probably go to a back five, and I think it'll be Mukiele, Ballard, Alderete at the centre backs, unless of course one of them's injured.
yeah,
Reynildo and Hume, I think, will be wing backs with Jaka Siddiqui in the middle, and then up front, you're probably talking maybe Traore, Lafay, Isidore, which sounds harsh on Talby because I think he was actually very good at the weekend. But
yeah.
that's so I suspect it'll be the same lineup as Saturday, except Talby to be replaced by Hume, and we go with a back five. That's what I think it'll be, and I wouldn't be adverse to it either because Traore has looked better game on game. Um, I also wouldn't complain if Talby was the one who started because Traore, with a bit fresher pace coming off the bench, might make a difference if we're in the game if we're losing by say one goal over a winning or if a game's close one way or another. So that's what I suspect we'll line up with. If we did line up with a back five, have you had issues with breaking teams down that sit with a back five or sit in a sort of a lower block? Because I look at the Forest game in particular. Now, the scoreline's misleading a little bit because I thought you had really good chances at 0-0 and 3-0 might have flattered Forest a bit. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how you set up and how you would be able to deal with teams that sit in against you. Because on paper, even if we do that, you should still have the quality to break us down, I think.
Yeah, we have we have always had a bit of a problem with low blocks. So yeah, look, I think the one thing I think you have to do when you're at Anfield is be defensively resolute. That's easy for me to say. Uh,
Yeah.
but no, like I think. I think if the midfield battle will be very, very key tomorrow because, as I said, it'll be probably Gravenberch, McAllister, and Soboslai is like the midfield three for us, and then obviously you had Xhaka, Lefay, and Siddiqui, I think, in that midfield. But your wingers could easily hurt us. Kirkes hasn't been great. I'll be honest. He's still not the same Bournemouth player that we got. But then again, I do think with the amount of games that are coming up, I could easily see Andy Robertson tomorrow. So Andy Robertson potentially against Traore or that Talby could be really, really interesting. Obviously, go Gomez at right back as well. But you're a good footballing side, so it'll be a really, really hard test tomorrow. Oh, no, on Wednesday. I keep saying tomorrow, but I keep forgetting that
Because
we played
it's
on
like three
Sunday.
games tomorrow, then there's like six on Wednesday, and then one on Thursday or something. It's very weird
Yeah,
how they've scattered the Premier. It's the first Premier League midweek of the season, isn't it? So yeah,
it is. Yeah,
first of quite a few of
yeah,
them. Yeah,
yeah. So I'd look at that. You should go to Anfield with no fear. You go to Anfield with fear, then you probably go away with like having sort of, sort of like to 2-3-0 or something like that. But the one thing I can say, you haven't really been beaten big this season. I think maybe the biggest defeat I think was 2-0 potentially.
yeah. Because it
Um,
was 2-0. Well, 2-0 twice to Burnley and Man United.
yeah.
Obviously, Fulham was
So
0.
I think, as I said, don't go to Anfield with fear. Then I think you potentially get something out of the game.
Yeah, well, I think the phrase and I can't coin this because someone I did a stream with yesterday did say this, but it was basically respect them but not fear them. And I think that's the best way to put it. And for us,
Yeah,
ultimately, this is. I think the way I look at, like I said, I can't speak for every Sunderland fan, but for me, I say that this is a game that if we get anything, fantastic. If we don't, it's expected, and you move on. Um, yeah, so let's start to move on to it. So to score predictions because obviously this is the first midweek of the season. These are the sort of games
yeah,
we wanted to get back to the Premier League for, and I mean this with the greatest of respect to the likes of say your Accringtons or your Oxford Uniteds or someone like that. Great respect. I have a lot of time for both of those clubs, but these are the games that Sunderland really want to be playing in, and this is the type of game where we want to test ourselves. And again, if we don't get anything, then so be it. But you go first, and what would you say is your because I think for, at least with beating Bournemouth, it took a, and I think even if we'd drawn against Bournemouth with the bottom three all losing, it would still would have been pretty good. But the fact we've won, I think just really just relaxes things a bit more and just sort of takes the pressure right off this week. And if we come out of this week and we haven't picked up any points, then I don't think people should lose too much sleep over it. But what would you say your lineup would be and score prediction for the game?
So lineup for me, I'm gonna go Allison and goal. Same back four, except I do think Robertson comes in for Kirkes, so I'm gonna go Gomez, Kanate, Van Dijk, Robertson. Then I'll be the three midfielders: Gravenberch, McAllister, Soboslai. Oh, this is where it gets tricky because do you bring Salah back in after Wirtz's performance? I honestly wouldn't. So I'm gonna go Wirtz on the right, Gakpo on the left, and I think Isak up front. I think that'll be the team. He may bring Curtis Jones in from McAllister potentially. With obviously the 4 games in 10 days
Yeah, to try and
thing
manage
as
it,
well.
won't he?
Aye, so he could potentially do that, or he could potentially bring Salah back and then maybe play Wirtz on the left and obviously Salah on the right, and then obviously Isak up front, or he could play Ekateki.
I
Yeah,
mean, it depends. I suppose if he loses another game, then he'll have to try and manage it all over. Very quickly before we do get on score predictions, I can't believe I forgot to ask this before. What's the mood around Arne Slot? Because obviously he ended up obviously winning the league last year, but was
yeah.
was a lot of that down to riding the crest wave of what Klopp had done the years before, or was it that is the notion of him potentially losing his job ridiculous in your opinion, or is it one that you can get back? Is it one you can understand at least?
I'm never one for wanting a manager sacked. Never one for wanting a manager sacked. And Liverpool don't really sack. league-winning managers. It's never been sort of their forte to to do that. But the fact that we got 5 wins at the start of the season was it was good, but we were not playing well. Then comes the I think it was the 5 defeats in 6 games or something like that. Um, I can understand where people are sort of coming from because of obviously the form that we've had, but for me, I would still give him time. I would give him time to turn it around. Um, I did say if we had lost to West Ham, then I wouldn't have been surprised if we potentially see the next game day club statement. But we've beaten West Ham, so he's given a bit of time to sort of get back into the swing of things. If we go on a run, all will be forgotten. All will be completely forgotten. But the one thing I will say, 26 defeats in 2025, 2025. It's not great.
No.
So that's where I'm coming from. But I'm still backing Arne Slot. I'm still backing him. As I said, he will get time to turn it around. He will get time to turn it around. But there are sort of some that are starting to sort of turn towards potentially wanting him out. But I still think you've got to give him time. And the amount of money that he's spent, yes, we're eighth in the league. Look, we are eighth in the league, but we'll still. I still think we will go on a big run this season. Might not be enough to be back in the sort of the title race, but I think that the fact that Veert's played well yesterday, Isak's got his first goal. I'm hoping now that will sort of get them stemmed down and basically play much better. Um, so, with that being said, score prediction. I would always want a clean sheet, but I can see you scoring because you've got really good players. You've got Isidore, you've got obviously Xhaka, Enzo Lefebvre. You're a danger from set pieces as well. And as I said before, you don't lose games by big margins. So I'll go 2-1 Liverpool.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I would go for the same score as Saturday for us, but obviously losing it. I think we will lose 3-2. I've got a feeling it's going to be quite a. I don't know. It depends really, because obviously if you get a goal early on, then obviously a game plan that we might have goes out the window. But yeah, I would say probably 3-2 to Liverpool, and I've just got a funny feeling it's going to be a goal thriller. This, but again, I think that obviously for you guys, it's a game you need to be winning, whereas for us, I think we just kind of view it as something of a free hit. I'd like to think at the Stadium of Light it'll be a different story. I'd like to think that most teams that come up here now will see a point as not a bad result, regardless of which team it
Yeah,
is. But yeah, at Anfield, I would expect to come away with, and I can't remember the last time we actually bloody won at Anfield either. So I'm not expecting that to change for God
probably
knows.
before you were born, potentially.
Probably, yeah. I mean, we've drawn a couple of times, but we haven't. But we generally tend to lose there, and that's fair enough. We don't expect to. These aren't the games that for me determine our season. Basically, if you're
No,
looking at
absolutely not.
games like to an extent Newcastle at home because it's a derby, Leeds at home. Those are the games we need to be picking up results in if we can. If we get past the first half, 0-0 is ours for the taking. Mate, if we keep a
Hmm.
clean sheet on Saturday, that'll be a great result. Um, He's actually fair. Doug said later Liverpool haven't drawn yet, so announce Liverpool 0, Sunderland 0 on Wednesday night. Goodness knows, draw at some point. But no, unless there's anything you want to say, Doug, I think we'll leave it there because me, we've been talking nearly an hour, but I've really enjoyed this.
I have really enjoyed it. I do have actually two more questions for you.
Go on then.
From because I'm in a group chat. I'm in a group chat. One was a very sort of tongue in cheek question. So, would you rather lose 10-0 against Newcastle or get relegated? And the second question: what is your unpopular opinion with Sunderland?
So, what was the first question?
Would you rather lose 10-0 to Newcastle or get relegated?
Neither and finish in Europe. No, I'm not gonna. Okay, I'll not skirt around it. Would I? Ooh. Oh, you put me on the spot there. That is a really hard question. Yeah, I think. Okay, I'll tell you what. I would probably rather lose 10-0 to Newcastle on the condition we beat them the second time we play them.
That's fair.
If we did that, then I can I can't stomach a 10-0 defeat in Newcastle, but I could never stomach losing to them
It's
full stop. But
it's
I
never going to
just
happen. It's
no, well,
never
no.
going to
I'd
happen.
like to think not. I think for me, we need to be established in the Premier League again, and I think this is a bigger. I think if we went down this season, I don't think we'd get a better chance with Wolves being what they are. So, and
Yeah,
what was your unpopular opinion for Sunderland? It's quite a few I've got actually. That
because
okay.
this would be mine, but I don't know if you would agree with this. But you're probably one of the best ever promoted clubs to come back in the Premier League.
I'm not sure that would be unpopular. To be fair, I think we've certainly been the best promoted side probably for the
For a
last decade or
long
so
time.
now. I think maybe. So I think
Yeah.
I might be paraphrasing there, but um, Sean's put what is it relegated? That's fair enough. I can see why he says that, but I think I don't want to go back to it. I actually love watching the Championship as a neutral, but I don't want Sunderland in that division. But no, I mean, my unpopular opinion, probably my most unpopular one. A lot of people hate Stuart Donald, and I think Stuart Donald did actually care and want what was best for the club. He just wasn't good enough. There's a big
Yeah.
difference between that and being a charlatan. So
Well,
if that
well,
means losing 3,000
I, rem-
subscribers, so be it. But I think he
I
did good.
remember. I do remember the horrible man.
Charlie
What's his
Methven.
name? Charlie Methven.
Yeah, he's a tool.
God.
He's a chancer. I don't think Donald is.
I can just remember watching Sunderland till I die, and it was like, oh, we
Got to try
need
and
to
build,
get
build the
to
stadium up. Got to try and build people up and get them in the ground.
to
Like, oh
build
my
people
god,
up. Yeah. Nah, he was
absolute
no. I think you have been so much in the doldrums that you deserve to be back in the big time. And look, you're thriving on it, and that will be very very interesting to see how many points you sort of end up with by the end of the season. Because if I'm being honest, I look at the way that you've been playing, and to be 20 points above Wolves, to be sort of what 12 points above Leeds.
It's 11 above Leeds, 12 above Burnley. I think. Yeah.
You would have wanted that at the start of the season.
Oh, I would.
You would have ripped your hand off for that.
Of course, I would have done. What do you mean, rip my hand off? It's conveniently chopped off by the screen. No, to be fair, yeah, of course I would have done. There's no way. I think, like I said, I did fancy us to finish above Leeds and Burnley because I felt we'd signed better players. I think we have the best manager of the three, and one that's probably the most proactive and the one that will go the furthest. I think. Whereas Barker and Parker, which sounds like a weird sitcom name, doesn't it? But those two are solid championship managers, but they are
Yeah.
never going to amount to anything, I think, at Prem level. So I think I had a feeling we would finish above them, Leeds and Burnley, for that reason. But obviously, the big thing at the start of the season was finding another one established team to finish above. I'll quickly ask you then, right? Who do you think gets relegated? Actually, I'll tell you, we'll finish on this. Where are Liverpool and Sunderland each going to finish, and who goes down from the Premier League?
I still think we'll get third. Sunderland, I would say top 10 at least. I don't think you'll fall in below top 10.
Right, guys, we'll have Doug back on the channel next week. It's fine.
I would say you just missed out on the European places. I would say maybe 8th or ninth.
Top 10 will be an outstanding season for me, as far as I'm concerned.
Top 10 would be an
If we
outstanding
got top
season.
10, that's brilliant.
And then it would obviously be a case of trying to sort of get into Europe. That would be obviously the next step. But no, I think wherever you finish this season will be a success because of, at the start of the season, Sunderland fans would probably be like, oh, avoid relegation completely, get to that magic 40 points total. But now, 22 points out of 13 games, just the sky's the limit for you guys.
No, I think, you know what, I think that's pretty fair. I think, to be fair, I've always said that for me, a club of our size, to have not been in Europe more, I think is quite poor. I think we're big enough to...
Yeah.
I'm not saying Champions League, obviously, but I mean Europa League, Europa Conference League. When you look at some of the clubs like Forest, West Ham, Wolves, Brighton, Palace now, I'm thinking, well, I think we're bigger than all of them personally.
Yeah.
So why can't... Obviously, it doesn't... I want to reiterate, it doesn't work like that. You have to earn the right to do it. You have to be ran competently. But I think, for this season, look, I think Europe's a stretch too far. As much as I'll probably joke about it, I'm not I even think Newcastle will end up finishing above us. That's how I think. Being realistic, playing the long game, and I think it would be hilarious if we finished above them. But I'm not expecting it unless we have an exceptional January. Then you just never know.
Yeah.
But if I had to nail a position for each club, I think Liverpool will probably just get into the Champions League places. I think you'll still. I think over the course of the season you'll improve and get yourselves into the top four, top five, because I think it's fifth gets you Champions League now. So you
Yes,
get
I
into
think
those
it
places.
does.
All right, I'll nail a position. I'll say Liverpool get fourth. I think we will get 12th. So hang on, let's see. There you go, Flint. I'm just going to call you Mickey Duff because I'm not going to try and pronounce that. DJ Mickey Duff. Sunderland 12th, Liverpool 5th, Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley. Up the Blancock, back cat, how are the lads? Thanks for watching, mate. Yeah, and the final one then, who's going down?
Yeah, mine mine actually changed because of obviously like, your transfer business. So um, Wolves definitely, I think they're doomed. No team has survived with 2 points at this stage of the season, so I think that's probably them going to go down.
2 points after 13 games is shambolic. Like, I can't believe they managed to
It's
mess up so
really
badly.
bad. Do they get Derby's points total? There's
Well, that's a
there's one
conversation.
for you.
If they still haven't got a few more points by their, well, Forest, I think they've got Forest at home on Wednesday night. That's
I'd
massive.
say that's a must win.
Yeah, no,
Especially
I
with
agree.
especially the fact that we're like where Forest are in the league, I would probably say that. Wolves definitely. I still think Burnley will go. And then it's if Leeds keep Farker, then possibly. Um, I don't know.
That's the caveat, though, isn't it? Because I think for me, it's Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley. But Leeds depends on if they get rid of Farker and they
Yeah,
make. But the problem is, do the 49ers are they trusted enough? I don't think a lot of Leeds fans trust them to make the right appointment to get to replace Farker necessarily. So
yeah.
I think personally it'll be the bottom three as it is because I think Fulham won't go down. I think Fulham will have far too much. I think
No,
Forest
Fulham are an interesting one. I know they won at Tottenham and obviously beat you guys last week.
they were
But
very good against us, mind I would say, by the way. That's the
yeah,
best team I think I've watched this season.
yeah. And obviously they go to Spurs and win, but actually going away to Spurs is actually quite easy at the moment because they just
I'll
don't
come
seem
back
to
to you on
be.
January the 4th, mate.
um, but no, I don't think Man City will get relegated. I've seen a comment there that Wolves could catch Burnley. I just can't.
Nah,
Um,
probably not. I don't think so.
I think the three go down. It's all based on if Leeds sack Farker. If they keep Farker, then I think it'll be Wolves, Burnley, Leeds.
Yeah, I think what the worst thing that happened for them was to narrowly lose and put up a fight at the weekend. Because if they got battered, I could have seen
Yes.
Walker maybe go in. But because the board might look at him because they aren't ruthless enough, I think, or they haven't been. And I do think Falco will get sacked at some point, but I think it's going to be by the time they do it, it'll be too late. So I think
Mm,
I would say probably the Leeds Burnley and then obviously joining Wolves in the Championship. But Leeds, again, the caveat as of right now is that if they get a good appointment, that could change the whole picture completely. So, you know,
yeah.
because I don't see Forest going down, and I don't, and they were poor against Brighton yesterday, but I don't, I just can't. I think Forest will have too much, and Dyche knows what he's doing. The
Uh,
only way I could maybe see it is how far they go in the Europa League. That's the only way I could maybe see
Yeah.
it being a thing. But I still think their quality will be too much. I still think they'll have too much to finish in the bottom three. And then West Ham's the one that I think could replace Leeds if things really go to shit.
They they looked very, very lethargic yesterday. Um, I think they've been a bit lucky in games, actually, West Ham. And then obviously you had Paqueta's idiotic red card. I'm still calling it idiotic anyway.
Yeah.
But I do think West Ham could be the one. Look, Brentford have to have a lot of credit because I said I wasn't sure about Keith Andrews as a manager, but Igor Thiago is like a new signing to them because he had all of last season out injured. I'll now look at him. He's scoring goals. I think that was his 10th goal of the season so far. So
And that's after replacing Mbuemo and Wissa and then Norgard
yeah,
losing them as well and losing Frank. So I think I stand by a lot of the reasons I said that I thought Brentford would go down, but fair play to them. They've done absolutely superbly to cover the losses of them. And I think when I've watched Brentford at home, they've actually been really good. I think so. I've changed my
and the
so
former Jordan Henderson as well.
Yeah, I still wouldn't have minded if we'd signed him, to be honest. But there you go. Right, I think so. Basically, long story short, we both think Liverpool get Champions League. Doug thinks we'll get. I think you said 10th. I think. No, you said 8th or 9th. Sorry.
Eighth or ninth
Yeah,
for me. Yeah.
yeah. So I said 12th. So either way, we're not Sunderland aren't going. So Liverpool Sunderland will be a Premier League fixture next season if we're both right. And then obviously we've said at the minute Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley to go down, depending what Leeds do with Farke potentially. But Doug, thanks very much for having me invade your channel and coming on mine. It's been a really, really good talk. We'll have to do this again for the return fixture.
Absolutely, yes, and yeah, please do hit the subscribe button on both my channel and Michael's channel.
Yeah, please do.
That would be very, very good. I think Liverpool will finish fourth or fifth. Champions League. that would be very, very. That would be Champions League.
Champions League and an FA Cup win.
That would be nice. That would be very, very nice.
More to
Especially
stop
with
them
what's
lot up the
happened.
road trying to win it, but
Yeah, that's true. That is
yeah, that'd
very,
be
very true.
appreciated. But yeah,
but no. As I said, thank you for doing this, and yeah, it's been great to do this, and me and Carl really value your expertise, obviously on the 20. We'll be doing that later on
yes,
today. We'll
actually,
be recording that later.
Sunderland Bournemouth. Actually, I might do that as soon as we've done this. But yeah, no, thanks very much, and yeah, subscribe to Dugout Football channel. I think you've got that right. My remembrance of names is terrible, but go on him and obviously the Carl and Levy Football Podcast for the 20 podcast that'll be going live. I think tonight. I think it is reviewing all of the Premier League stuff, and yeah, thanks ever so much. Thanks ever so much everyone who's watched, and yeah. I wish Doug, obviously I'm sure Doug wishes me no luck on Wednesday night, as I'm sure I do likewise, and especially the other way around. But that is what it is. And Carl is that Carl? Oh no, it's Kay, sorry. I thought it was literally Carl for a second there, because my eyesight's awful. After my friend, I am very well, mate, but we have literally just finished. So go back and watch the whole hour and 11 minutes before this when we talk about Liverpool Sunderland. But yeah, thanks again, Doug. And apart from the 2 games against us, and unless we meet in the FA Cup, then good luck for this season. We'll see what happens. And take care, everyone. And take care who's watched. For my lot, away the lads.
Bye bye.